This video, we're going to review Arrow Season 3, Episode 14, The Return. There was a lot to love about this episode, but there were also a few things that were kind of off about the episode. I really enjoyed the starting off with Thea and Oliver on the island, and they're kind of like just bonding time. I thought was really nice for them to have, especially since they've made Thea a lot more rational now that she's had the training with Malcolm. Also enjoyed seeing her fighting with Oliver and him being like, you learned this all in 9 months, and it just kind of like shows what a great teacher Malcolm is and why exactly they need them, because a lot of people are like, oh, why are you going to side with him? And I understand working with a guy that's just completely batshit crazy, but it really shows how much you can learn from him because he is such a great teacher and fighter himself. I really enjoyed that we got to see Slade again and that he was back. I wish they would make him a little bit more sane and not just constantly, I need to come after Oliver. I know he keeps his promises, but making him a little bit more sane so that we can move on. I think it's also funny how he is still like so hooked up on Shadow and just like, oh, you killed her. And it's like, dude, it's been 5 years. You hardly had a connection. It was Oliver that was all up in that. Like, you need to relax. You would only give her like sideways glances, and only at when you were wounded did you admit anything. So I don't know, that whole thing seems kind of weird. He needs to let that go, and I feel like maybe he needs to talk to a Disney princess about letting that go. But very cool to see him on the island. And when Thea and Oliver were fighting him, and they were like duo fighting and just the back and forth and helping each other out, I love those type of fights in general, but seeing those two fight together was just so cool. And I'm really glad that Thea didn't end up killing Slade. Well, one, because we want to see Slade more on, but so that she's not proving to Malcolm that she, is a killer or can become a killer. I know some people were like live tweeting saying, oh my gosh, did she actually kill Slade? And you should know by now, if someone pulls a trigger and it goes to black and you don't see a dead body, that person is never killed. Usually if they are killed, you see the dead body and then it cuts to commercial break. Finishing up with the whole island bit, I love how Oliver goes, this is a Chinese prison retrofitted by 8 Argus technicians. There is no getting out of here. And the 8 Argus technicians were literally foiled by a button too close to the cell. That was terrible. And then the other thing, when her fingers were almost there on the button, she could have used her shoe. What was Oliver like? Yeah, we could use a shoe, but the floor is so cold. It's so much easier to dislocate your shoulder. But I guess they wanted to make it seem more thrilling and whatnot, because if it's not painful to escape, then I guess it's not a proper escape. Moving on to the flashbacks. I don't generally talk about the flashbacks because they're usually not my most favorite part of the episode. But this time was a little different because we had Oliver dealing with almost or at season 1 characters, and I miss Tommy so much, and seeing him come back recently makes me think that maybe they're going to be doing something else with him. Maybe he's going to come back to Lazarus Pit. I don't know. I can't say for sure. That's probably like a super far reach and not going to happen. But it kind of makes me hope that they are, and then there's just going to be a whole new layer of Assassin Tommy, which might make the show get a little ridiculous at this point, but I support it. Definitely have the feels for Oliver having to see his sister at his grave and his father's and taking drugs, and then being like, funny how Oliver cared about me more now that he's dead than when he was alive, and he's like right there, and all the feels. But on the other hand, it's like, how do you not notice that they're in the bushes watching you? And that's the same thing with the Argus, the warehouse, when they were doing the final drug sale, and Maceo's up there along with the other Argus agents, and literally like right above that chick. And I don't know about you, but whenever I have been anywhere where there's like a catwalk up above, I always, no matter how up it is, I notice people sitting there. I don't know if Argus is just like really terrible in the show or whatnot. They don't seem that terrible in other media that I've seen them in, but this is just like super sloppy between the button prison cell and then them just walking up there, and I don't know. Anyways, back to the other flashback portion. I think it was really cool how Oliver was just so sad looking at Thea and then Tommy and all that. And the one thing that really PO'd me about this is we had Oliver sneak a peek at Felicity, and Felicity was being her so cute like season 1, and not the season 3 self that's getting a little whiny, cryy, crazy. And it was super endearing, and he smiled, and that was fine. I'm okay with that. And I know that was more for the Olicity shippers, which I am with you, even though right now I kind of like Felicity and Ray a little bit more. But then, when we have any scenes where Oliver is seeing Laurel, he doesn't have, like, that look on his face of sadness. I mean, this is the woman that he looked at her picture continuously and was so in love with her, and he sees his sister, and oh, he has a sad face. Oh, he sees Felicity, he has a smile on his face. He doesn't have any, like, could we have not given him, like, 5 seconds, or even 2 seconds of seeing Laurel, and then, like, being like, oh, she's there, or, oh, I'm so sad that I can't be with her. We got, like, nothing. And I know that they're trying to cater to the Olicity people, and I don't like Laurel, like, at all. But I feel like they were just glossing over what season 1 Oliver was like, just to go with the Olicity shippers, and they could have given him, like, one just, like, longing look at Laurel, like, oh, that's the woman that kept me alive. And then last 2 things, I really like the confrontation between Laurel and Detective Lance, and him being like, you know, you did this, it's not you putting on your Black Canary mask, it's that you lied, and we were friends, and we were partners, and we were most alike, and you betrayed me. And I like that he's not holding back on her and just kind of going crazy on her, and I hope Laurel doesn't get upset at him with her stupid anger, because she deserves this for not telling him. I can't even begin to imagine how I would react if everyone else knew, or even my ex-wife or ex-husband or whatever knew about the death of my child before I did. I would snap, most likely. I also think it's kind of funny how Laurel dumps, you know, the bottle of booze on top of her sister's grave or next to it. It's like, here, pouring one out for my homies. Like, I don't know about you, but I generally don't pour alcohol or other things in graveyards or by graves, because that seems really disrespectful and crazy. But I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe that's a normal thing for people to do. And then finally, I want to give the Father of the Year award to Malcolm Merlyn. He gets his son killed, he gets his daughter to kill Sarah, which is her friend, under the influence of drugs, and then sets a psycho killer out on the loose to kill her. He literally gives 0 fucks. This is like the very definition of a sociopath. And it's crazy that when, at the end, Thea's like, you know, I'll never be your daughter again. And he's like close to tears. He's so upset about this. Like, his reasoning when you did this, he wasn't supposed to tell you. I did it because I love you. Like, what kind of crazy reasoning is that? Like, I'm not gonna excuse what I did. You weren't supposed to know. And I did it because I care about you. In what world do you drug someone and have them kill their friend and claim that as you're helping them? I don't know. But anyways, we need to get an award to him because I think he deserves it. Some quick final thoughts. Why has no one ever mentioned anything about the dead drug dealer that one year at Tommy's party? I feel like that's something that would have come up at least once. Hey, remember when we had that birthday party that one year and that drug dealer like fell and broke his neck? And I really like how they stayed true to season 1 Oliver, which was a killer, and to keep his secret, he's like, I must keep my secret. Snap your neck. So they really were, in that way, keeping true to his and oneself. Super happy that Thea now knows that she was the one that killed Sarah, even though it wasn't her, and just dealing with that whole thing. Glad that finally came out and they're not keeping that a secret from her anymore, and glad that she's not angry at Oliver about that. I think Laurel's character is actually starting to get better, and I'm starting to like her more. I like how Malcolm said your sat phone's gonna stop working after this call, and then Oliver broke it, and it's like, well, he was right. It's gonna stop working after this. And then finally, I'm kind of curious whether Detective Lance is going to become season 1 Detective Lance again and have drinking problems, or if he's going to rise above this and just kind of reconcile the whole thing with Laurel. So those were my kind of rambling review for this episode. I had so many thoughts. I literally had like 3 pages of a Word document about this, and I tried to cut it down as best as I could because this episode really invoked a lot of different emotions in me. But anyways, you can write your thoughts below and make sure you like and subscribe.